Hey everybody, Eric here with Josh. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Me and Josh just got some fresh haircuts, so we're doing real well.
Yeah.
But welcome to the Live the Movie Team weekly Google Hangout team meeting. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is our group, and we do a weekly hangout. And what our group is all about is having a group of people, like-minded people who come together that want to hold each other accountable of the goals that we have and help each other develop into the people that can be able to achieve the things that we want in life and also be able to get a lot of fulfillment out of it at the same time. So some of the big things we do in our group, we set big goals, we hold each other accountable, and we do that in many ways. One is the hangout. Two is actually having the goals and keeping track of them. We also have masterminds every 3 or 4 months where we get together in person because nothing can replace the human contact of being together with each other and just striving towards what the goals that we have. And hi, Mel. Hey, and she's gone. um, and then if you drop off, you have to come back. That's how the group goes. So that was really funny. Oh man. So that's what, when you get knocked down, you have to get back up. And so Mallory's just showing us how this actually works. And one of the things that we do as something that holds us accountable of the process of going after our goals is that each month we read a book. And the objective of reading the book is to learn some of the same personal development principles that we've learned in the past, but to get it from a little bit different angle, because maybe there's a little bit different concepts, a little bit different way of looking at stuff. And if you keep learning the same stuff over and over, but you do it in a slightly different way, so it's still entertaining, there's still different ways to learn, something hits you in a different way, then you'll continue to move forward and make progress. So that's what we got there. Mallory keeps dropping off, but I'm sure she'll get it to work at some point. I don't know what's happening exactly, but we're going to dive in. So the basis of the discussions that we usually have usually surround the book that we're working on. Obviously, at different points we can work on. We can talk about different things, but what we usually do is take some of the concepts from the book, and then we kind of go off in tangents, not far tangents, but little tangents about the high-level principle that's being taught based on what we're talking about in the book. So some of us might specifically, talk about something that was in a particular chapter or something that was really important, or we might just share quotes or different things that were in the book that give us ideas on help us to where we're going. And the objective is that, at the end of the book, it's not just you read the book, it's that you implement it into your life. So directly and indirectly, it helps you achieve the goal that you have within our group, but it also helps you be more fulfilled in the process of going after your goals and just your day-to-day living. And it's amazing what happens. Our group isn't doing anything really crazy. It's actually pretty simple, but as we've heard in other books, the simple things are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. And if you can just continue to do the little things, it adds up over time. And because for me, I work in the financial industry, but also I've always, been fascinated with numbers. It's the whole concept of compounding. If you take a small number and you compound it over a little period of time, it doesn't really look like much. But if you compound it over a large period of time, it turns into a really big number. And not only that, the number actually becomes biggest in a short period of time on the back end, but only after you've built all of that momentum. You can almost think of it in reverse, like a snowball, right? You make a little snowball and it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The bigger it gets, the easier it is for it to keep going and get bigger. And that's what happens when you keep doing these little principles over and over and over that we teach in our group here. So that's what it's all about. Mallory, we were dying laughing because you said hello and dropped off instantly. It was like perfect timing.
Well, it's funny because you guys froze and I was like talking and I was like, I think that I should probably try this again. Wasn't working.
Yeah, it was so funny though, because it was like literally we're like, hi Mel, you're like, hey guys, and then you just your thing just fell.
That's funny.
Too funny. So cool. So Today we're going to talk about sort of the middle portion of the book. And for me anyway, I kind of picked out some quotes and some high-level ideas rather than going through each little individual chapter and all that stuff. And we can kind of go off in tangents based on what we came up with. But like I talked about last week, I really like the author's approach to the topic of, how do you become a badass? You are a badass is the title, how to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. One of the things that I actually looked at, and then this is what I'll kind of start with, is I kind of looked at the back of the book the other day. And one of the things that I noticed was that, the author in the back in the resource section actually has a bunch of other recommended books to read. And, a lot of them about personal development and success, but some of them are also about psychology and spirituality. And, sometimes I find the most fascinating people to follow is people that studied like psychology and spirituality, but then they bring like a just do it type of atmosphere to those things that they've learned. So as you look at those resources in the books that she's read and have helped contribute to her book, it actually makes more sense what she talks about, and also makes sense where she got some of her resources. I've read many of those books in the back, so I just thought that was very interesting to take some of those concepts that she read and just put a different little twist on it. So did you guys see some of the books she recommended in the back?
I didn't look yet, but I was just browsing as you were talking about it, and Rich, I think, was one of them that that's amazing. Wow. The Science of Getting Rich.
Yeah, as a man.
About this.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I don't necessarily buy every book that somebody recommends, but I always write them down on my list of books if I haven't read them. And then if it's like the holidays or something or whatever, I'll add those to my list because, it's cool to read a person's book, but then you can get the resources behind their resources and you can even learn even more. So there's definitely some really cool books there. As a Man Thinketh is also a really good book. That was one of the first ones that she recommended. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. So let's see here. What do I have? I have some. Did you have something, Josh?
I was pretty much going to say the same thing as Mal. I hadn't really looked at it yet, but I just looked at it as you were talking and just noticed some of the books that were back there look pretty interesting. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, you could definitely add them to your list of the holidays if you get presents or whatever. But also we could add them to our list, and if we don't have an idea for a month of a book to read, we could always find ones from that. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. So I had some cool quotes here that, and again, I don't know if they're officially in the chapters that we kind of picked as the middle third, but I thought this one was pretty cool. It's actually pretty long, but it says, "It never ceases to amaze me, the precious time we spend chasing the squirrels around our brains, playing out our dramas, worrying about unwanted facial hair, seeking adoration, justifying our actions, complaining about slow internet connections, dissecting the lives of idiots when we're sitting in the middle of a full-blown miracle that is happening right here, right now. We're on a planet that somehow knows how to rotate on its axis and follow a defined path while it hurtles through space. Our heart is beating. We can see. We love, laugh, language, living rooms, computers, compassion, cars, fire, fingernails, flowers, music, medicine, mountains, and muffins." So the last half of that was just pointing out all the little things that are just miracles that even exist in our life. And one of the biggest things I got from the middle of the book, and that quote kind of talks about, is it's not so much that we're unaware of those things, it's that we don't take the time to reflect in the right way. The concept is called framing, is how do we frame our existence? What do we compare it to? and things that she talks about in the middle sections, like meditation and gratitude and things like that, we hear over and over and over in each of the books that we read. And when you do that and you start to think about those things, like think about the beginning of the end of this quote: we're on a planet that somehow knows how to rotate on its axis and follow a defined path while it hurtles through space. You know what I mean? You know, your heart beats and you don't do anything. It's literally been beating since you were like six weeks since your conception or whatever, somewhere in that range, right? And it's been going ever since, and you don't do anything to make that happen. You don't do anything to make that happen. You know, you have the ability to love, laugh. We have language so we can communicate. We have living rooms to be comfortable. We have computers to communicate. We have compassion for other people. We get to drive and have cars. We can make fires. We have our fingernails we can make look nice or grow or do whatever we want. There's flowers, there's nature, there's music, there's medicine to help people. There's mountains to see and conquer, and there's muffins. There's cool things to eat. I just think that that's so cool, and she does a great job of, you know, kind of getting at what I was talking about, that whole negative talk to yourself to get you to take action, but then also looking at, you know, what's so awesome about our existence. So, you know, I think that's pretty cool. So any opening comments from you guys about either that quote or general idea you got from the middle part of the book?
Yeah, I think the biggest
funny.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Josh.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's just funny that, you know, what was I going to say? That, you know, we always think that it's like like avoiding the pain that gets us motivated all the time. And sometimes that's true, but I think also if somebody doesn't see all the positive benefits that can come from doing a great job, that can also keep them back from motivation a little bit too. Because, you know, even if it's, you know, avoiding pain, it's kind of like, well, what reward is this giving me? And if somebody can't see the reward, then they might not, you know, bother going to do something that, you know, might be a little bit harder to do, might be more challenging.
Absolutely. It's a good point. Good point.
I love it. I was just going to say that when you were saying that quote, Josh, not Josh, Eric, I actually was thinking about like how many things we just kind of take for granted in life, like just the basic things. Like when you said muffin, I was like, yeah, we kind of just expect there to be a muffin at like a coffee shop, but it's there because somebody thought up the recipe. We discovered the ingredients long ago, discovered a recipe that would make this delicious muffin, and now they've perfected it to a point where you can get like hundreds of different kinds of muffins. And part of that is, yeah, we live in America and we have a lot of freedom and a lot of things available to us that some other countries don't have. But, you know, it's pretty cool to think about all the stuff that's in our lives that we don't even really think about. And I think one of the author's focuses is just being really present in the moment and appreciating so much of what you already have. And slowly you start to kind of get rid of the things in your life that you don't want because, you know, you don't need them, or you really just don't want them. You want to get rid of just the clutter that's in your life, and you want to start actually focusing on living out the lifestyle that you. And if you start doing that and you start appreciating the things that you do have, you start getting more things that you want. So it's just kind of cool to think about, you know, not taking advantage of what we have, but also dreaming up this whole lifestyle that we want to live to attract it to ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. You were a little behind, Mal, so I couldn't see if you were still talking. I didn't want to cut you off. But yeah, those are both great points. And you know, back to what you were saying, Josh, I've said this many times that avoiding pain is actually a bigger motivator in general. Not that it should be, but it is, because people are, you know, we're human beings, and, you know, kind of the whole protective mode. So that's the bigger motivator, and that actually, for the most part, helps people achieve more, but it doesn't necessarily help people become more fulfilled. And because of that, when they achieve something and aren't fulfilled, they're less likely to take more action to go after more things, because they took the action to avoid the pain and got more pain. So then actually doing more Like I've said this before, that's how you get the successful people in Hollywood or corporate America or wherever that looks like they have everything, but they're not happy. That's where it comes from, is that they never switched from just having a motivation of avoiding some pain and actually figuring out, what am I doing for people? How is this process actually making me more of the person I was meant to be?
Yeah, and I feel like people oftentimes just get in this whole mode of like, I need to survive in order, just to make my, I don't know, pay my next bill or whatever. And they get so focused on that they kind of forget about a lot of the things that make them happy in life. They just don't make it a priority. It's essentially what makes people miserable. So,
absolutely. So, with it being the holiday season, I've said this before to you guys, but I actually think one of the goals in life is to, if you know the movie The Christmas Carol with Mr. Scrooge, right? And Josh knows this from going to Tony Robbins' UPW, where he does an exercise called the Dickens effect, and it's basically about that. I actually think the goal in life is to have what happens in that movie happen to you at as young an age as possible. And if you think about what happens in that movie, it's that he looks at his past and reflects on that there was so much good there, but he doesn't remember that anymore. He's not really focused in the present and causing himself more pain. And where he's headed is not where he wants to go. And the movie's a fun movie and people like it, and it's holiday and you watch it and whatever. But Tony talks about there's like the biggest psychological message like there possibly could be embedded in that movie. And what the message is if you attach ultimate pain to the past, the present, and the future, you will change instantly, no matter what it takes, because otherwise your nervous system would shut down and say, I'm dead. So what happened in the movie is he woke up and said, oh my gosh, this all happened in one night. And at the end of the future part, he's actually at his grave. So he thinks he died. And instead of dying, he actually just was asleep for a night and now gets to wake up with this brand new perspective and gets to go do things the right way. And I think that if you can, continue to, work, all of us, including myself, develop ourselves and keep reflecting in this way. And if you could have a Dickens effect where you literally get to do the same things you've done your whole life and appreciative that you even get to do it one more time. And not that you think like your life's coming to an end soon, but just saying like, oh my gosh, like this is great. Like I get to do this. And the problem is all of us usually look back at what we've done and beat ourselves up. And even in the fun things that we did, I already did this a million times, whatever. And just getting yourself into that place. So if you get a chance, this holiday season, watch that movie and be entertained, but also pay attention to how deep the message is in that movie. It's like profound. So I thought I'd add that in. So let's see. I have some other quotes here. Maybe if you put your disbelief aside, roll up your sleeve, take some risks, and totally go for it, you'll wake up one day and realize you're living the kind of life you'd be jealous. So, just going for it. And it really is, what's interesting, and I think, I know Josh and Mallory can relate to this, and I'm sure many of you watching can as well. Sometimes we're doing something, whether it's a job or a business or whatever, and it's not going the way we want. And I guess I could even use another example, like Mallory's, does her paint nights, and she loves painting. And when she's actually painting and helping people paint and what it means to be able to take nothing and make it into something, but the process of actually getting people to maybe sign up for a paint night or think of ideas or how much do I charge or how does it work, that stuff might not be as exciting to her, might not make her feel as excited to actually do those things. And because of that, someone's in a place where they're not actually doing what it is they enjoy. So another example is like all of us, Josh still sells, Cutco, the kitchen product, and we all did. And there were times when we would struggle as sales reps or managers, and we weren't actually meeting with a lot of customers. And then all of a sudden we go through a time where we are meeting with a bunch of customers and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I could hit any goal I want if I just keep making phone calls and meeting with customers. Same thing with Mallory with the paint night. If I could just do those parts and get some people to sign up and do this, and I can actually do my paint nights, I would absolutely love it. So my point with this is that sometimes it's just about like Jen talks about, just going for it, because if you just go for it 100%, you'll start to do whatever it is in the process that you enjoy doing, which will give you more momentum to do the parts you don't want to do, which gets you back to doing what you do want to do. And that positive momentum just spirals and you start to end up doing more of what you want to do. So that's what I kind of got out of that quote. So I don't know if you guys have any feedback from, either the experiences I just was talking about or anything else that came to mind.
Yeah, when you were talking about the movie actually before, and I also have a couple things from when you were just talking about that, but you said when Scrooge woke up from his night of, dreaming, basically, you said he got a chance to live the right way. And I kind of I wrote down live the right way. That doesn't mean there's like a right or wrong way that is defined for every single person on earth. It's just the right way for you. Like what makes you tick, what gets you fired up. Like Eric was saying, the paint nights, like when I'm there painting and in my moment, it's like I'm like on a high, like it's an adrenaline rush for me. But yeah, leading up to it, like getting the supplies together and thinking of a painting to do for everybody. And even when I get there and I'm setting up, I'm like, I can't wait to just start painting, because all the other stuff that leads up to it isn't very exciting, but it does lead up to my passion. So a good point for that is just like your whatever your passion is, the how will eventually find its way to you and it'll appear for you. But you just got to define that passion specifically and just really go for it, because the how will present itself. You just got to have an open mind to different opportunities that are around you to be able to make it happen.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of the same way about working at a college too, because that's my passion particularly. And obviously in order to get there, I'm gonna obviously interview and fill out applications and apply for jobs and all that sort of stuff. And that's really tedious, and I don't enjoy doing it all that much. But like Mal said, knowing the end result of it, that I'm going to get the opportunity to interact with college students on a daily basis, that I'm going to get the opportunity to help people achieve their dreams and believe in themselves to the point where they can go out and get whatever they want. That has to be enough to motivate me to want to fill out applications and want to work hard again. So
yeah, absolutely. Last January, so not let's see, 2 Januaries ago, I gave a speech at Kent State University about my book that I wrote with Mallory, The 8 Mandates of Personal Leadership. So I came and gave a 1-hour speech to their leadership, the people that were part of their leadership group, and it was like 300-400 people. And then I was the main keynote speaker, but then they had these breakout sessions in classrooms, and people could go to the different sessions. And mine, I didn't have anything planned, so it was literally a question and answer session. And I had a blast with that, so the students could ask me anything they wanted, and then I would answer them any way I wanted. And one of them was this kid that was working for the student newspaper, and he was talking about how he loves the finished product of writing an article that can impact the community. But he says, I hate driving to go do the interviews. I hate booking the interviews. I hate doing all this stuff. And one of the things that I pointed out to him is that that's going to happen no matter what you're doing. Even if you're doing your passion, there's still going to be parts of it that you don't enjoy. And I actually told him the story about how when I actually sent all the books to be able to, when I sent all the books to colleges to see if they'd be interested in having me do the speech, I didn't have enough money to be able to send the books and pay someone to do all the paperwork. So I had to write the letters to them and package them and all that stuff, because if I paid someone, I could have paid someone, but then I wouldn't have been able to send the book to as many colleges. And I said, I don't like doing that stuff at all. I appreciate people who do like doing that, but I just don't like, stuffing envelopes and writing things, doing these things, whatever. But I said, I loved when I was doing that. because the entire time I was doing it, I was thinking about, you know, the directors of student leadership or student activities or whatever, opening my letter, checking out my book, calling me, having me come and give a speech, and then literally be doing what I'm doing right now for you guys, answering questions. So the entire process, I'm thinking about my passion within the process, and that's what got me to actually be excited about doing something I don't really enjoy doing in the process. So I just thought that would be beneficial for all you guys to hear, because we all have things we're passionate about, but have parts of it that we're not passionate about. So I have another quote, but I'm not gonna swear because there's a 6-month-old next to me. But yes. But basically, Jen says, there's nothing as unstoppable as a freight train full of blank. Yeah, so you can fill in the blank. So, you know, kind of just someone going full force after what they want. You know, forget what book I read it in, but they basically said, you know, success in life is really simple. Figure out what you're passionate at, light yourself on fire, and then have people come to watch you burn. Basically meaning just do what brings you to life, and people will be attracted to that and they'll come participate. So, you know, I definitely agree with that quote. When people are going for it, that's the commonality. You know, you look at, so like, what's the commonality with these successful people? It's like some people are comedians, some people are this teacher, that teacher, some people do this, that, and the other thing. It's just that people are being themselves and going after something that they're passionate about, and that's what, you know, attracts people to different people, no matter what their profession or their goals are. So I thought that was pretty cool. Do you guys have any quotes or any ones that you wanted to share? I have a few more, but someone else can go for a second.
I have a couple that I can share. One is kind of long too, but I think it's cool that, you know, some of the short quotes are cool, but I love how some of the long quotes, like every single part of the quote is like so profound, but so simple at the same time. So one of the ones that I wrote down is, your job is, and I kind of just talked about this actually, your job isn't to know the how, it's to know the what, and to be open to discovering and receiving the how. So that's what I was talking about. Like when you are so passionate about something, the how will present itself. You just have to have an open mind to it. I thought that was kind of cool. And what happens too in your mind, it all goes back to your mindset, because if you tend to make excuses for why you can't do things, then opportunities that show up will still show up. You just won't notice them, and you won't be able to take advantage of them because you just have an excuse every time something like that happens. So eventually, when you have to just change your mindset into saying, you know what, I don't know how this is going to work, but this is what I want to do. I am going all out. I'm all in. And all of a sudden, if you start to just get rid of that excuse mindset and you start looking at an opportunity, with looking at things through opportunity eyes, you start to be able to take advantage of those things. And some opportunities, you're going to go after them, and it's going to be like a bust, and you're going to start back at square one, but that's all part of the process. It's going to suck at times, but it's worth it in the end if you get to your destination, or you start living the life that you really want to live. And then the other quote that I have, it's kind of a long one. The moment you have the audacity to start believing in the not yet seen, your reality will begin to shift. You have to change your thinking first. I just said this. You have to change your thinking first, and then the evidence appears. So I love that she talks about this, because she says, our big mistake is that we do it the other way around. We demand to see evidence before we believe it to be true. So that goes back to, you know, faith in general. Like, you have to have faith before the faith that you can achieve something before you actually have evidence that you're able to achieve it, or else you're not going to be able to achieve it. So just having that kind of blind faith without seeing something already put together in a way that you want, you know, and just go after it instead, and all of a sudden it appears, and you're like, wow, just because I believed in this, it actually happened, instead of worrying about how I was going to achieve it, or if somebody else had already achieved it before me, things like that.
Absolutely. Did you have something, Josh?
Not that I can think of. I had just gotten booted from the call for a few minutes.
That's
Don't know
all right.
what completely
Right.
happened, but
You know, it's kind of interesting, and it related to what Mallory just said. It's you know, if you think about what thinking is the process of asking and answering questions. You might not notice that, but that's actually what it is. And the problem is that if you don't get yourself in the right mindset, you can't notice the things that can help you to achieve your goal because it's not the answer to the question that you're asking. So that's why you can't figure it out. It's like, you know, you're not focused on any goal, and then all of a sudden you're focused on a goal, and all of a sudden these hows appear, and you're like not only were they there yesterday, but like I used those hows to achieve a different goal in the past. Where was this gap? And the gap was that when you're not asking yourself the right question, you don't have the right mindset, it doesn't hit you in that way because you're telling your mind that this isn't important, so I'm not going to pay attention to it, and therefore it's not there for you to utilize to actually achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. So that's pretty important. So let's see. Do I have any other good ones? It's a bunch of good ones, but let me see what I have. Let's see. So imagine what our world would be like if everyone loved themselves so much that they weren't threatened by other people's opinions or skin colors or sexual preference, talents, education, possessions, lack of possessions, religious beliefs, or customers, or their general tendency to just be whoever the hell they are. So basically, if we weren't threatened by each other, then you know, that would give us the freedom to go after what we want. I think what she's getting at is one of the challenges is that, you know, it might not be possible to eliminate this entirely, but what she's saying is if you judge yourself and you're judging other people, you're thinking about, are they doing the same thing to me? Therefore it's tough to go after things because you're thinking that people are focused on that. But, you know, the way to think about another person's point of view is to think about your own point of view, which is, you know, somebody does something weird, stupid, whatever. Maybe you gossip about it for 5 seconds, but you're not really thinking about it. You know what I mean? I'm not really thinking about, oh my God, can you believe that Mallory tried that thing and it didn't work? It's like, you know, it's like, who cares? You know, no one's actually thinking about it. So, you know, it all kind of comes back to, and I've shared this story before, and actually Mallory was part of this staff. So I was basically the apprentice for the district manager for the sales and marketing company, Cutco, that we've been talking about. And so I was that role, but I also had a staff of my own, and Mallory was one of my assistant managers, and I had 2 or 3 other assistant managers. And one of them, who's still a dear friend of mine, you know, was a college student. She was a little bit younger than the rest of the staff. And she kept showing up late to her office shifts, and she was actually complaining and gossiping about our manager. And so finally I couldn't take it anymore. So I went to our manager and I was like, listen, so-and-so is saying this about you, and she's calling you these names, and she's showing up late and whatever. And, you know, I'm just talking about it for like 10 seconds. And my objective was to get him to do something about it. So, you know, that it wasn't really to gossip, it was to help us do better. But it also, in my own mind, was some insecurity myself. So he cut me off and he goes, listen, I don't care what she said about me. I don't care what she's doing. All I know is that she's late, which means that she's not excited about being here. And 2, our sales numbers are not where they need to be. So what are you going to do about it so that we get it back on track, so that she's excited to be here, your team's excited to be here, and we get back on our sales goals? And I was like, wow, okay. And then before I was about to leave, he said something very profound to me. He said, Eric, think about this. He goes, all gossip is based on an insecurity in yourself. And I was thinking about that, and he was like, because if it didn't bother you, the subject of what was going on, and you just focused on that there was a challenge, you would go after the solution instead of continuing to talk about the challenge. You continue to talk about the challenge because it bothers you internally somewhere, instead of just getting back and focused on the solution. So I just thought that was very, very profound, and when that stuff happens now, I try to do my best to kind of focus on that and to shift right back into, what's happening rather than focusing on the problem, because you're not going to get anywhere that way. So I thought that was interesting. Josh?
I had then you got to telling that whole story and I completely lost it. So what remember what you were saying before the story? Because it might jog my memory.
Oh, you were going to say something before the story? Well, I was talking about that whole quote about how let me see, what is it? Yeah, so that mainly, we're usually like judging, we're judging ourselves and thinking other people are judging us. Therefore, they might be thinking we're doing the same thing, and it keeps you from actually taking action because you're worried about that. When in reality, even if you did something weird or wacky or stupid or out of the ordinary, yeah, people might gossip about it for 5 seconds. But after that, it's like no one's sitting around at night saying, "Oh, Josh tried that thing and it didn't work." Ha ha. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's funny because in high school, I participated in a leadership program, and one of the exercises we did over there was that we did this exercise where we tried to in a circle, and we all had different numbers assigned to us, but we pass it along, basically say a number that was, and then whoever had that number was the next person. But if anybody ever made a mistake, all we did was we just took in a breath, you took in some air and just said, yes. We just moved on and, basically appreciated the mistake. And what it teaches you is that, like a week or like 2 weeks or whatever, if somebody does something wrong or something stupid or whatever, a little bit, all you're really going to do is laugh about it. So like, why not just laugh about it right away anyways and let it go? So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole concept of changing what pain and pleasure actually means. Like if you want to help someone get over rejection, you make rejection the goal. If you want to get someone to make more phone calls, you make having them get no's on the phone the goal. Not literally, but if you actually say that what is supposed to cause pain now isn't a big deal or actually makes it almost pleasurable, then there's nothing to hold you back from actually going for it, because the thing that you're supposed to be afraid of, you're not even afraid of anymore. So, making that shift can be a really big thing. So, so that's pretty cool. Some of the main things that were talked about in the middle of the book, just talking about, taking control of your mind so your mind doesn't control you. Talking about meditation, gratitude, the gateway drug to awesomeness, and those are themes that we hear in all the different books that we read. Gratitude, making sure that you reflect on what's good in life and appreciating what you have, so that you can go live your day without in abundance instead of in fear. And meditation, so that you calm the mind and you get yourself in a good state to go do those things. I think those are just such important lessons to actually help you move forward in life. And that's why they're in almost every book that we read. Those things are a part of it. So success leaves clues. So if they're in all these different books, they must be really important. And a big thing, of course, is that gratitude you have to do through experience, and you have to do through actually appreciating that. And it's like a muscle, just like everything else. Doing meditation, gratitude, all those things. It's not something you do one time and you're good. It's something that you practice on a daily basis. So I thought that was awesome. So anything else you guys have? Anything that stuck out to you, whether it was a quote or just an overall idea from the middle part of this book?
I don't know if you're going to get to this, but I think all these ideas are awesome. But if you just like listen to this call and then don't do anything about anything, like don't take any kind of action, you're not really going to get anywhere. It's kind of like what you were just saying, Eric, how it's like a muscle. If you don't work it, it's not going to get stronger. So one of the things I wrote down to talk about at kind of the end as we're wrapping up, and you can expand on this too, is on, I can't remember what chapter it was at the end of, I think 11 or something. I think the 5 or she gives 6 quotes, not quotes, but 6 ways to show your brain who's driving the bus, which is what she says. So if you're struggling, like if you're watching this call and you're struggling with your mindset and you're like, oh, how do I change it? What do I actually do to, start the process? Because sometimes all it takes is you starting something and starting to do something different to make that shift and start the shift. So I think these are great takeaways for anybody, no matter what level of personal development you are, or how, if you already are living your dream lifestyle, but you just want to improve in, small little ways. Doesn't matter, where you are in life, but I think these are fantastic. One is ask and it is given. So this is, figuring out in a really specific way what you actually want in your life. For example, and also not over asking for it. So if you start to practice meditation, for example, as one of the ways to improve your mindset, one of the stories that I thought of as I was reading this part was, if a child asks his mom for a cookie after dinner, if he eats all of his dinner, and his mom says, yes, you can have a cookie after dinner, that's a great idea. And then 5 minutes later, he goes, Mom, can I have a cookie after dinner? She's going to be like, I already told you that you could have a cookie after dinner. Yes, you just have to eat all your dinner. 5 minutes later, and he's like, Mom, can I have a cookie for dinner? She's going to be like, yo, stop asking me, kid. Like, you're going to get a cookie. Why do you keep asking me about it? So that's kind of what you want to do, is you want to be really specific in what you want, but then just kind of let it go and, keep living your life and plant the seed. But then don't, if you're a farmer, you're not going to plant the seed and then dig it up to see if anything happened the next day. You're going to water it. You're going to nurture it. You're going to let it grow and see what happens. So I think that was kind of a cool thing. Number 2 of the 6 things was act as if. So I love the idea of fake it till you make it. Start living, start feeling the sense of gratitude as if you've already received some of the things that you want to receive in life. And then all of a sudden you have it and you're like, oh, it feels really good because it already felt good because I thought I already had it and I felt that way. And then all of a sudden it's there. Number 3 is upgrade your environment. And I talked a little bit about this before, is throwing away the clutter. If there's something in your life that you are so sick of looking at, even materialistically, just get rid of it. I remember we had 5 or 6 single socks on our top of our dresser, me and my husband, that didn't have a match. And I was like, eventually they're going to show up. But it would be so irritating to me that there was just 5 random socks for each of us on the top of the dresser. And I'm like, why don't I just get rid of these socks? They're just irritating me. And once I threw them away, I didn't even have to think about it anymore. And we had a nice clean dresser top, and it just wasn't on my mind or irritating me anymore. So it's those little things like that you can you literally have the power to change anything you want in your life. You just have to, notice it and say, yes, I'm going to change that, and just do it. Just take action and do it. And then number 4 was make a vision board. I think this is a huge one that anyone can do. It's so easy. And I love what she says at the end. It's like a craft day with God, because anything that you see all the time, subconsciously your mind is going to absorb it as something that's true for you. So if you make this huge vision board and really dream big, go, shoot for the stars. And eventually, if you look at that vision board every day, things will start to manifest in your life. And you're like, wait a second, where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, that's on my vision board. And it's really kind of cool when you do something so simple just to improve your mindset, that it really works. Number 5 is surround yourself with people who think the way you want to think. So if you find yourself around negative Nancy's and people who are naysayers and they complain all the time, it's like, eventually it's really hard to stay positive in an environment like that. And sometimes you can't, get away from those people all the time. But what you want to do to kind of counteract that negativity is just get around people who have the mindset that you want to have and are living the life that you want to live. And with social media and technology these days, you don't have to physically be around those people. You can jump on a call like this and share ideas and get fired up about your goals this way, instead of having to actually be face to face with somebody in person. And then the last one, and I love this theme, is love yourself. Because, the more love that you give yourself, the more love that you're able to give to other people. And it's just really that simple. So I think that, the two things that I got from this that anyone can take away out of those 6 is make a vision board and start surrounding yourself with people that you emulate.
Yeah, that's an awesome list of things to focus on, and very simple, but things that can really make a difference. And that's what our group's all about. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. And for me, as you guys on the screen know, but many other people watching might know, is that I enjoy running. That's how I get energy and exercise, whatever. But what's interesting about it is, every once in a while I'll do a race. Like I did a 5K a few months ago. I've ran a marathon and different stuff. But day to day, I just have in my schedule that I'm going to run, and then I just go do it. I enjoy it. I get a good feeling from it. But then I just don't think about it until I'm going to take action on it the next day. And the point of that quick story is that you set a big goal. You focus on who you're going to become in the process. You schedule daily action, but then you just do the action, reflect on it, and just wait until the next time you're going to do the action. And if you do that over the course of a long period of time, you're going to make a big difference. And that's what our group really is, and that's why it's important to be a part of our group. It's like I said at the beginning, what we're doing here is really simple, but it's also simple not to do. And just like going running, it's like, what's the big deal about running one day versus not running that day? Well, it's like actually really nothing. If I skip tomorrow, literally nothing would happen. But if you skip tomorrow, it might be a big deal, because if you never do it, then one more day is one day too many. There's a difference there. And, so just having that. So we have our weekly calls. We each separately go after our goals. We each separately go read the book, but then we reconvene from that. So we reconvene once a week on these calls, and then we convene in person every 3 or 4 months. And that little accountability and that consistency ends up making a big difference. It's amazing when you end up, reading these books, right? And you actually see the author and you're like, I think I've heard that idea before. I think I've heard that idea before. And then you're like, well, that person read this book. That person was in this mastermind group. That person was in this. I mean, it's literally so crazy that yesterday we had the dedication or christening for Meg and I's son Logan, and the priest actually said, he didn't say who said it, because technically anyone you would quote probably didn't say it. It was probably in the Bible or something, but he said, I don't know if Mallory was there. I don't know if you remember the quote, but instantly when he said it, I thought Tony Robbins, and then I thought Jim Rohn. That's what like went through my mind, was that. But it's probably, it was probably in the Bible somewhere. I forget what the quote was, but he quoted like either Charles Dickens or somebody, and then he gave another quote that was definitely like a personal development quote. And it was just so interesting just seeing all these worlds collide, and how it's the same messages from a different angle and all this different stuff. So I thought it's powerful. So the most important thing is that you take action, whether it's with our group or your own group or whatever. But we'd love to have you. If any of this connected with you, you want to read a book with us each month, it's a good pace. You obviously can read more books if you want, but life's busy. It ends up usually being like 5-10 pages a day. It's more about the consistency than being like, hey, look, I read 10 books this month. You can do that if you want. And then picking one major goal that you're going after, breaking it down into little groups, and then having a group that holds you accountable to it. And then having our group that we get together every 3 or 4 months. There's nothing, even as technology continues and people maybe work from home and do all these different things, even if that stuff continues to happen, nothing will replace person-to-person interactions, which I think masterminds, events, live programs, that stuff will never go away. Maybe day to day, people won't always be in the same place as everybody, but every little bit, the people will get together, because nothing will ever replace that human interaction. So if any of this excites you, you can definitely reach out to me or one of the leaders in our group. We'd love to have you be a part of the group. We have a lot of fun on these Hangouts. We have a lot of fun at our masterminds. I was actually thinking about it that, we really came up with the idea for this group. We had this group for a while, a couple of years, but actually having our own masterminds and stuff, we only thought of that like a year ago. And in the last 12 months, we literally did a trip to Greenville, South Carolina, which was really cool. When we started this group, Meg and I were traveling, and now we have a place in Rockport, Massachusetts, which is north of Boston. And we actually hosted a group of people during the summertime and had an event there. So we've had one in South Carolina. We've had one in Massachusetts. And then Mallory was nice enough to host us. And we actually had a third event this year in Cranston, Rhode Island, which is right outside of Providence. So it's pretty cool. We literally came up with this idea on our own less than a year ago. We've had 3 masterminds in 3 different states. We've got to do fun activities, do fun things. So if you'd love to be a part of a group, definitely reach out to us. So, so that's all I got for tonight. You guys got anything else?
Live the movie.
Live the movie. So cool. Well, we will catch you guys next time. I think we're going to focus on next time, wrapping up this book for the end of the month. And then, in the meantime, those of you guys on here as leaders, be thinking about what book you'd want to do for next month so that we can next week already be thinking about that. So, because if we wait till the next week, it'll already be the next month, and then we get into Christmas and whatever. So be thinking about if you have any ideas on what you might want to do, and we can pick which one we want to do for next month, next week, so that when we actually have the first call for the next month, hopefully everybody will already have at least got the book, if not started to read it.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
Sounds like a plan.
All righty. So I will catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of the week. If I don't talk to you, for those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, have a great Thanksgiving. And whether you do or don't, remember that it's not actually about the turkey or the pilgrims or the Indians or any of that. It's actually about gratitude. And actually, I heard this in church yesterday. I don't know if this was the other quote, but it was that Thanksgiving doesn't make any sense because Thanksgiving is supposed to be the day of gratitude, when in reality, it should be the opposite, where people, instead of complaining 364 days a year and being thankful on one day a year, people should complain one day a year and be grateful and thankful 364 days a year. I thought that was a pretty cool thing for the priest or the minister to say. So enjoy your Thanksgiving. Don't make it any less fun or exciting than it's going to be. But just think about that. Thanksgiving brings something very important to light, but it's something that should be practiced every day, not just on the day of the calendar. So just thought I'd share that. So have a great day, guys. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.